Hey folks, I'm excited to be here today to talk about something that's completely transforming how we build modern WordPress websites, and that's full site editing. And more specifically, how to use it as a practical design system for your website. Now, if you've been building WordPress websites for any length of time, you know the struggle of maintaining the design consistency of a site with many different pages. Now, traditionally, this meant maintaining an ever-growing CSS file and a dozen different templates to tame your designs. And let's be honest, for many folks who aren't developers, this meant either hiring someone for every little change or just living with the inconsistencies across their site. You'd end up with a homepage that looks great, but an about page with a slightly different spacing and a blog with mismatched button styles and then a contact page that somehow feels like it belongs to a different website entirely. And this is exactly why design systems exist. A design system is essentially a collection of reusable components guided by clear standards that can be assembled to build any number of applications or websites. It's like having a complete toolkit where all of your design pieces just work together perfectly. And the beauty of a design system is that it creates consistency and efficiency. You define something once and it applies everywhere. And then you don't even have to think about it when you're designing another page. You just follow the presets and patterns. And now with WordPress's full site editing, we can finally have the tools to create a legit design system right inside WordPress. And we can do it all within the WordPress interface without writing any code. Now, this is a game changer for how we build websites on WordPress as we lean into a more no code future. With WordPress's global styles, you can define typography, colors, spacing, and more in one central location, and those styles will apply automatically throughout your entire site. This acts as the engine for your WordPress design system. Using the WordPress interface, you can dial in your site's visual language without even writing a line of code. It's really that powerful. And now, when you add in patterns, which are pre-designed page elements or full page designs that come with your theme, you can really start to design smarter because patterns are built on top of this design system. So when you add a pattern to the page, it automatically inherits all of your global style preferences, your brand colors, your typography, your spacing. It all just works and is easily customizable with just a few clicks. So to really get the most out of full site editing, you need a WordPress block theme that brings together all of these awesome features like the site editor and global styles and patterns. And luckily, I've built a free block theme called Ollie that does just that. Ollie comes with a beautiful crafted design system with responsive typography and spacing and vibrant color palettes built right in. So we're going to use Ollie to demonstrate how we can quickly get a practical and usable design system set up for your WordPress website. All right, here I am in WordPress and I have the free Ollie theme installed. And what we're looking at here is just a grid of blog posts. But in order to show off full site editing and kind of how to work with typography and things like that, I want to actually install a few pages, which will help us better see the typography and we can work with it a little easier. So what I'm going to do is hop over to the WordPress dashboard and I'm going to flip over to Appearance Ollie. This is Ollie Pro, which is a paid plugin, but we also have free features that help users set up their site quickly. So we're going to use that free feature and I'm going to click Starter Sites. And a starter site is effectively just an importable site that helps you set up your posts, pages, and the colors, typography. It sets it all up for you in one click. You can see here it says our site is ready. We've installed those pages. And then I'm going to just hop over to the setup wizard real quick and set some of those pages that we just used to be our homepage and our blog page. Now, if I flip back over to the homepage and refresh, you'll see we have a homepage fully editable and ready to use for this demo. So let's hop over to the WordPress site editor. So to get there, I'm going to go to Appearance Editor. And if you haven't used the WordPress site editor yet, this is kind of like the page builder built into WordPress. It's native, it's not an installed plugin. This just is how WordPress works. And I'm not going to go into depth entirely on the site editor, but as you can see here, you can edit your navigation styles, which we're going to dig into a little bit further. You can edit pages in here and the templates on your site, and as well as the patterns that come with your site. So really, this is kind of your all-inclusive site editor, and it's really powerful. And yeah, I encourage you to check it out. But what I'm going to do actually is click into the canvas here, and you can see now we're looking at our site. And so this is where we actually edit the content of our site. We can click and edit text and all that good stuff. But what I'm actually going to do is click this button here up at the top, and it says Styles. And this is the global styles panel, or the styles panel. And from here, this is effectively the engine of our design system for our site. This controls the typography, the colors, and styling for specific blocks. And so this is where we come when we want to really dial in the styles of our site. So let's just do a quick overview of this panel. So if you see this button here, if I click this, this is called the style book. And this is just a quick overview of the many common elements on your site, such as typography. You can see there's the different kinds of typography, or headings, or paragraphs, our colors, and stuff from the theme. And really, it's just showing you the styling that is coming from your theme on these common elements. And this is a really cool way of, like, when you are editing things, like maybe your typography, you might open the style book so you can quickly see those changes taking place, or you can look at the live view as well. And then another really cool feature is this revision. So we get this awesome power of a design system in WordPress now, but we also get revisions with it, which is like something you don't see very often. So being able to jump back to previous iterations of our design system is just really powerful, and really helps it become scalable and maintainable. All right, let's hop into some of the styles and the kind of elements of this design system now. So there's kind of three levels of control you get with full site editing, and when it comes to global styles. The first one I want to hop into is this. It's called styles, or you might hear it referred to as style variations. And what this is basically, it's like pre-configured color and typography and spacing presets that kind of come together. And as you can see, as I click around, it kind of really changes, and I can undo this zoom, and you see it just really quickly changes the vibe of the site. It changes the colors, the typography, and you really can kind of get some really cool combinations. So it's almost like skins or even individual themes for your site. And this is pulling the styles that come in the Ollie theme that I've set up inside the theme. And it's coming from a file called theme.json. And it's just a configuration file where we dial in all of this stuff. And it comes together in this interface in a way that makes it easily clickable, customizable, and usable. So I can click around and see kind of this overall styles. Maybe I like that. And I can dive in deeper. It's like, maybe I like that typography, but maybe I want to click a different color palette. And as you can see, it's changing the color palette as I'm clicking around. And I kind of like that blue one. So we'll go with that for this demonstration. And this is pulling this color palette, and it's automatically styling all of these elements for us. This is part of the design system mentality, is that these colors that we have in our color palette aren't just randomly chosen. They are constructed in a way that flow through all of your site, and the many patterns that you'll use in your site that create really predictable and beautiful outcomes. So that's what makes it so we can click and change these color palettes, and you can see, like, it just really nicely styles the elements that it's supposed to. So let's continue on. So I've just dialed in that. And again, you can click and change just the typography if you wanted. So you wanted to change. So you really get some, like, really granular control here. And we're going to, we'll keep dialing this in as we go further. But I just wanted to show you kind of the really quick high level. So this is like, easily set it and forget it options. And this is pulling elements from the Ollie design system into this interface. So that's styles or style variations as they're referred to. So diving in a little deeper, so that's kind of the high level. Then you have this middle level of settings here, which is typography, colors, layout. That's effectively the more kind of the most important parts of a design system. Typography, color, spacing. Those are the three that really make up the essence of a design system. So let's hop into the typography panel because I think that's one that relates with the most people. And you could see here, again, we have the option to click around and change our typography. But below that is where we can really kind of start to dial it in. So when I click around, you'll notice this fonts panel changes a bit. And what's happening here is these presets, these typography presets, all have certain fonts assigned to them. So as I'm clicking around, you can see that this one has Space Grotesque, this one has Sans Serif, sometimes it has multiple fonts. And that's just bringing typesets into your site that you can work with. So these are the ones that are defined with a theme, but we can go further. We can click this little button, this little font manager button. And from here, we can upload our own fonts. We can bring in other fonts that have been found in the Ollie theme, or we can click install fonts. And this is browsing all of the fonts from Google Fonts. So you can bring in just tons of typography. You can click in and decide what level of how many different variations of the font you want. So you can really, again, dial in your design system based on exactly what kind of fonts that you want to use on your site. So we're just going to stick with the ones we have, but for this one, maybe we'll also add um, Mona Sans here. Click update. And you can see here now this typeset has the DM sans, which came with our typography preset, but we've also now added that new font. So we can use that as part of our design system as well. So before we get into this panel here, I want to jump down to the font size presets because I think there's some important ideas here about how this works with full site editing. So as you can see, as we click around in the canvas here, and let's actually click over and we can see if I click on something like a heading, you'll see there's a typography panel. And this has, I think, 7 different options in it. And you can see what happens when we click it. It effectively changes the font size of the text. And these font sizes are defined by the Ollie theme. And you can see here, let's go back in there, font size presets. And you can see those defined here. And by only having 7 to choose from, this really helps you dial in your typography and keep it very consistent across your site. You don't have to think about, um, what font size is this heading going to be? It's always going to be the heading that you set up globally. And so again, it's about creating predictability and not having to make a decision on every single element you design. And that's really helpful when you're trying to create a cohesive website. And so you can see here, if I click in to this extra large font size, you can start to see how this is set up in the Ollie configuration file, and you can customize it further. So it's fluid by default, which means if I click this tablet view, you could see that the font size got a little smaller. It automatically shrinks as the design gets smaller. And we can also customize this font size if we want. So this is what comes from the theme. Again, this is like a kind of industry standard CSS using something called Clamp. And basically it creates responsive sizing. And so you can see I can come down here and change this font size. And you can see over here it's changing. And you can change how big you want it on desktop. And this setting will change how you want it on mobile. Most people just leave this as is because I've dialed in these sizes on a responsive type scale, and so it's kind of mathematically good. But if your design system says it needs to be a certain size, different rems or different, maybe you're using pixels or something like that, ems, you can come in here to each one of these and customize these. And all of your font sizes, then this will propagate through all of the patterns you find in Ollie, all the patterns you create. through all of the settings on the sidebar of your typography. And again, that's just how beautiful and powerful it is to be able to dial in using the interface here and have that cascade throughout your entire site. So it's super powerful, and I think that's again something that a lot of people have not quite dug into yet because it's kind of tucked away. But the more you know, and the more you tinker with this, the more you realize how powerful it is. Another important little tip is, say I just change those font sizes, but maybe actually I come in later. I'm like, that actually I want to reset it back to the defaults. I can click this reset styles and it changes. You can see it just changed it and it sets it back to the default that is defined in the Ollie theme. So that will reset all of your styles. So if you made other customizations, it will reset those too. So just a heads up on that. All right, let's hop back out. All right, so now we kind of know how the typography is flowing through this, and we can change the typography size. We know how all the presets work. So let's look at then how we start to apply these to certain elements. And that's what's happening in this little section here. So you can see here, if I click in to these different elements, these are going to help us decide how to style these specific elements. So if I click text, that means all of the body text could be changed if I change this. So if, let's just change it to something we can see. And so you can see that that changed the font size, and the styling, and I just can change it to something else so you can see how drastic that changes, and that will apply through your whole site. So you don't necessarily we don't want that one. We want to use the default that we started with. So typically you're not going to change your body font too much, especially to not something illegible or anything like that. You want to stick to a nice standard font. But headings is something that people always want to dial in. They want to change to a different font. And again, this just makes it super easy to do. So let's use this cool Mona Sans expanded. And then you can see here, every time there's a heading used, it is pulling that new font. So I think that, again, is just like a super powerful thing. And then we can dial in further each font size for each heading. I can click these and change these. And, if my design system or if my designer says, our fonts need to be, slightly bigger, slightly smaller, I can come in here, open up this style book, and then work through each of these headings, kind of get it where I want it. And then we have a nice cohesive design system. So that's that level. And then we can go one level further. So let's go quickly here and look at this blocks. So I can make those like cascading changes at the big level with the styles. I can go in the middle with these typography and colors, but I can also dial in very specifically all the way down to individual elements. So the button is another example. So you can see here, if I click the button, uh, customization, I can now come in here and customize how the buttons look on every single page. Every time there's a button used, and let me just go ahead and change this font just so you can see. And there. So again, this is a super powerful way of quickly aligning all of the button styles on your site to match your brand. We can go further and take this and really make it um, match our brand by adding our brand color in here using the color palette. And then all throughout our site, and you'll see we get this new button. In some places, it will look like this one hasn't changed, and that's because we actually have a different style applied on here. And I can click that and change that back just like that, just like that. So that's just a quick example with buttons, but you can really dial in here and get this individual blocks looking like really nice. And so anytime you use these through your site, it just automatically pulls that style and you've created a nice, beautiful, cohesive look. So that is the global styles panel in a nutshell. So next we're going to look at how, once we've set up all these styles, how it flows into patterns, and how that ultimately ends up creating a cohesive look across our website. So let's go ahead and check out patterns. All right, so we've talked about the global styles panel a bit. We've talked about colors and style variations and typography, but I also want to dial in a little bit and look at a pattern and see how some of this flows through, and also talk about the other element, which we have not talked about yet, is spacing. Spacing is a big part of design consistency, and it touches basically every part of your site. So as you can see here, our colors have been passed through to this pattern, this design, and our typography is here as well. But what I'm going to do is click onto this block, and another way of doing that is, if you don't know what you're clicking on, you can click this tree view and we can see what elements we're clicking on. And I'm going to click over to the Styles tab. Okay, so as I mentioned, the style variations and the typography, all of that is defined by the Ollie theme, and it's passed through to the settings in the sidebar. And again, one of the most important ones is padding and margins and spacing. These are all the things that add space to our site. So this, as you can see here, similarly to the typography, you don't have 100 different options in terms of spacing and padding. As you can see, there's just several, the same kind of idea, and I can click and slide this up and down and decide how much padding this section's going to get. And again, the benefit of this in terms of a design system is not having to think about this every single time you're designing a new section. You just always know that I've previously used 2XL for my padding on the top. I'm going to use that, and I'm going to get this nice, beautiful spacing on the top and bottom. And all of my sections use that, and that's where you get this nice, beautiful cohesion down the page. So that's padding, and you can also set your left and right paddings. Maybe you want this kind of more narrow view. It's defaulted to kind of a smaller padding, but you can change it to whatever you want. And then another important element is block spacing. So margin and paddings kind of control the top and bottoms. And then block spacing controls, when I move this, you can see it's changing the spacing of the elements in this section. So I can see that's creating a pretty big space there. And again, this also is derived from the same spacing presets, so that we're really using the same design language throughout the whole site. And it's pulling from the same spacing preset. So you get nice, even, and consistent spacing everywhere. And you can dial it in further. So that's spacing for this whole section. But if I click down here and click on this grid, I can come over to the Styles tab, and I can also change the block spacing on that. So you can see the spacing is changing between these grid elements, and I can decide to make it a little bit bigger. And because it's pulling from the same set of presets, you can see, look at this nice even spacing here. There's the same spacing between these elements is also now applied between these grid items. Now, personally, that's a bit much for me, a bit too much spacing, and so I would change that back. But the idea is that it is following the same fluid, responsive, aesthetic preset, and so that you get this nice, beautiful, cohesive design all the way down the page. So that's that. And all of that combined really starts to bring just a beautiful aesthetic to your site. As you can see, these patterns, they're not the most, detailed or difficult designs, but because they are following the same aesthetic in our design system that we've set up in WordPress, they do look good, and they look like they all belong together. And the same would be true if we added these on our homepage, as if we added them on an about page or a contact page. All of that, those presets that we've set up in our design system, that flows through all of our pages. And if we decide to change that on a global level, it's going to apply those changes everywhere. That's kind of the beauty of it. So that's how these settings and presets flow through to patterns. I hope that's helpful. All right, folks, we've covered a lot of ground today, and I hope you're starting to see just how powerful full site editing can be as a design system for your WordPress website. The days of maintaining long and complicated CSS files are behind us. With full site editing and the global styles panel, we now have a true design system right inside WordPress that anyone can use, no coding required. You can make a change in one place and watch it cascade through your entire site, keeping everything consistent and professional looking with minimal effort. What I love most about this evolution is how it democratizes good design. You don't need to be a developer or a designer anymore to create a cohesive, beautiful website. By leveraging these tools, anyone can build sites that look like they were crafted by a professional design team. I encourage you to start exploring full site editing if you haven't already. Download Ollie for free at olliewp.com, play with the global styles panel, experiment with patterns, and see how much easier it is to build websites when you have a solid design system foundation. And for those of you who want to take things even further, check out Ollie Pro, which gives you access to hundreds of professionally designed patterns and page layouts that all work together seamlessly within this design system approach. All right, thanks for joining me today. I hope this session has given you some practical insights into how you can leverage full site editing as a modern design system. Now get out there and start building something cool. I'll see you.